other elections. Katie Hopkins, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you say that Mr. Trump was a bit lewd and crude, but you say what people do in private is their own business. But this is a man that bragged about sexually assaulting women. It's not a private matter. It's not lewd and crude. It's criminal.
I think it's a conversation he had in private. I think many of us have similar conversations in private, and I'm surprised that we are going on and on about this. And
But bragging about sexual assault?
I'm surprised we're not talking about things that actually matter to people when they're voting, like jobs.
Doesn't that matter, that we need to know whether the presidential candidate is the kind of person that brags about sexual assault? Doesn't that matter to you?
I think what matters more is that he still has a tremendous amount of support. And what I see here in the UK
less than he had.
Is there's barely any recognition of the level of support that he has. And I think we're going to see a lot of voters coming out to vote for Trump just because the election's so polarised this time.
But what makes Trump fit to be president? He says he would carpet bomb areas controlled by ISIS. That's a war crime. He says he would torture terrorists. That's illegal. He says that ISIS will take over America if Hillary Clinton wins the White House. That's bonkers. So what makes him fit to be president?
In my personal opinion, I think he's saying the sort of things people now want to hear. He's talking about tough controls on immigration, which people want to hear.
Yeah,
he's talking about sorting out terrorism, which people want to hear. And he doesn't shy away from hard truths. And people want to hear that stuff. How come he's so popular? If he's so bad, how come he has such a following? And how come he is the
as I say, it's in
candidate?
decline the more people get to know about him. So you think that a man who brags about sexual assault and is in favour of carpet bombing innocent civilians, because that's what happens when you carpet bomb, is fit to be president?
I think if you listen to the other side of this, which would be Paul Ryan from the Speaker of the House, he said women want to be championed and revered. I do not want to be championed. I'm not some kind of
But I assume you don't want to be sexually assaulted either.
I don't want to be revered either. Revered is one step away from being embalmed in oil. I do not want to be any of those things. Women are a lot stronger than people are giving them credit for.
You think?
We are not eternal victims.
Let me try.
And I wish you would stop portraying
but I'm not. I'm actually talking about carpet bombing as well.
You are
other
banging
things.
on about carpet bombing.
Well, let's go. He's promised to throw Hillary Clinton in jail if he becomes president. That's what Banana Republics do.
Classic moment of the second debate.
He wanted to ban Muslims from entering America. Even you think
we recognise this. We
too good. Let me go through the list, and then you can do
bombastic rhetoric, which people like to hear.
Well, it was part of his policy for a while. He said a judge was unfit to rule on him because the judge had Mexican parents. He thought a reporter with disabilities was ripe for mockery.
That was his standard impression of most people, to be fair. I mean, you just created a list of all the things you dislike.
No, I've listed all the things that question whether he's fit to be president of the United States.
Is someone fit to be president of the United States if they don't control immigration? Is someone fit if they can't be honest about terror? Is someone fit if they can't stand up for the American people who want their jobs back? Is someone fit if they think it's OK to stand by their husband while he did all manner of lewd acts inside the White House? Is that OK?
When you look at the list, the charge sheet against Mr. Trump, the most remarkable thing is that Hillary Clinton's not walking this election.
Yes, and actually I think Katie has done a great service this evening, because I think there is a lack of ability to understand in this country the degree of support that Trump has. And, you know, when you go to the United States, it isn't just sort of rednecks and people. You find lots of ordinary people who are wanting to support Trump, I think rather ludicrously convincing themselves that Trump is suitable for the job. I think he isn't suitable for the job. But I do think the British have to make some attempt to understand what's going on in the United States. Kennedy and Clinton, both had very checkered sexual histories. I happen to think that both of them were quite good presidents. So the American people will have to judge whether the tape is significant in terms of Trump's ability to be president. I do actually agree with your list of things. I think he's entirely unsuitable to be president, but I wouldn't put this tape at the top of my list of reasons why.
Why is Hillary Clinton not doing better?
Well, it's a two-horse race. I mean, So there's not much else to go. And I think a lot of us watching the debate from this side, we just can't believe that a country of 320 million people have ended up with someone who in Trump who Robert De Niro called this week a bozo. And I think if there are
he employed violence as well. He didn't do himself any favours. He said he wanted to hit Trump. That's not helpful.
But I think what you did see from him, I think the way he talked about this guy is a national embarrassment, and he is. You know, when you watch that, you can dismiss the points he made about women and girls, but the truth is, it was said today that the mark of any decent society is how we look after girls and women in our society. So to dismiss that is absolutely outrageous. I mean, the number of Republicans who have come out in recent days who are absolutely outraged that this guy is still their candidate.
No, but many people are outraged that Hillary Clinton is the candidate of the Democratic Party, and that includes many Democrats. And that is because they look upon the Clintons, the pair of them, as people who have been involved in all sorts of what they think of being dodgy things that need a lot of explanation.
Well, there's no
over a very long
Hillary
period of
Clinton,
time.
you know, her qualifications for the job, you know, and Donald Trump.
I think it's going to be a great thing. You know, we sat around in Parliament, your people, and discussed banning Trump from the UK. I think your people are going to be very surprised by the fact that a lot of people are going to come out to vote. Those are shy Trumps, but they will come out to vote. And I think the election will be a lot closer than people are making out. And I think the British public underestimate the level of support he has with intelligent people in New York, as well as working class kind of America across the piece.
I think they underestimate that, but I think more particularly they underestimate the degree of reluctance to vote for Hillary. It's a very strong factor. And, you know, Andrew quite rightly raises this question. How is it that if this candidate, Trump, is so monstrous, that Hillary Clinton has struggled so hard to get ahead of him? And really, it's only the tape in the last week that's given her a fairly clear lead.
He has very little time for NATO and the Western alliance. He cozies up to Mr. Putin in the Kremlin, and he's an enemy of free trade. In what way would any of that be good for Britain or Europe?
I think having somebody who's actually achieved things in the world outside of politics, do we want another 30-year career politician? Do we want someone else from the establishment? He has a track record of being able to get things done. He has a strong family.
Every business he's run has gone bust. The casinos in Atlantic City went bust. The Trump University went bust. Trump Airlines went bust.
I think you're far too dismissive of Trump, Andrew. I think you've already made your mind up about the gentleman.
I'm just probing you to find out what's the only thing he's ever made us. The only thing, Clinton, if someone was here defending Mrs. Clinton, we would be asking about that. But we have somebody defending Mr. Trump, so I put the contrary case.
And nobody thought.
The only thing we know about him is that he did a tax return in which he lost £900 million.
No, he used the tax system efficiently to offset future tax, and therefore he would do what any normal person would do, is not pay more tax than he's required to. I would do that here in the UK. I do that here in the UK.
But what's the evidence that he gets things done?
The evidence is he's built a business empire that has been successful. Politicians don't achieve that. Hillary Clinton does not have a track record of achieving things, as you would recognise. And I think...
She's not a successful Secretary of State?
I don't believe she's a successful Secretary of State.
What did she do wrong?
If we look at her email case, for example, she's continuously lied about that. If we look at Benghazi...
All Americans are talking about Benghazi.
If you leave Benghazi,
I don't know the details
she left
of
Americans
Trump's
to die.
career, but in any city, I mean, I was in Chicago recently, you walk down the street and the biggest building almost in town has Trump written in 50-foot
but he's just franchised the name, Michael.
I know.
That's not his building.
But all over America, there are buildings covered in the name Trump.
I don't disagree with that, but isn't it terrifying for, you know, in this country, we immensely value the relationship that we have with the United States. It's absolutely central to our security. You know, we have so many common ties. The idea that this guy is down to the last two, I mean, it is terrifying. I don't dispute that he has a lot of popularity.
You and your sort...
What do you mean, my sort?
You sat around and discussed banning him. You used taxpayers' money to sit around and discuss banning the new and potential future president of the United States.
I didn't,
do you not think we'll need an apology from your sort?
As someone who deeply values the relationship we have with the Americans, I think it is terrifying that this guy is even down to the last two.
We would have looked quite stupid if we'd banned him, though, and he won.
Well, he may win. You're making it that's a past
No,
tense.
I said we would look stupid if we had banned him and he had won, wouldn't we?
Well, let's see what happens.
I think,
that's not an answer. That's
I think
not an
one of the
answer.
functions of the BBC ought to be to help the British people to understand how the American people have had Trump level pegging, I think until a few weeks ago, looking like he would be the winner. Maybe not just at the moment looking like that. But I take Katie's point that we still don't know what the result's going to be.
Well, we did help the British people to understand in the
But then
final
the
edition of
BBC,
This Week
if I
before the
may-
summer recess.
If
That
I
was
may, the
point.
BBC thought that Remain would win. Of course, the BBC were proved very wrong on that, as with so many other things.
I didn't realise the BBC had a collective view on these things.
I think it was very clear that you did.
Really? You clearly didn't see my shows. Kerry Hopkins, thanks for being on this show.
It's my pleasure.